Hello, it's the Wall Street Weekly Wrap-Up. It is November 28th, Friday, 2025. And it was a heck of a shortened week, as they call it, the amateur week, because people are off, usually Wednesday and Friday, and they trade. And it went up, and it went up a lot. Next-gen portfolio, 19.9. It went up today, 0.71%. The rate cut, the rate cute. Hope is up. Two of the Fed governors said, hey, I think we could give a rate cut. Remember, we were thinking it was going to be not at all, and that's why it was so pessimistic last week. This week, the best week since June. And then there was a surprise call between the president-elect. I don't know why they call him president-elect, and President Xi, and he's going to go there in April. So it was a good week, and not a bad return. We were at 15%, and now we're at 19.5, so we went up 4, but the Nasdaq went up higher from 15% to 21. And we'll talk about the divergence in AI that's happening, and we've mitigated some of it, but we're again comparing the S&P 500, a strong week, 16.5% up. So we're only beating it by 3.4%, still beating it, but that's a strong move by the S&P. And a lot of stuff we had really did good. Dow's up 12%. I remember when the Dow was the leader. That was a long time ago. We're showing FLIN, the Franklin Templeton India Fund. And you're seeing a little movement up. India has been in a long range. But their economy expanded 8.2% year to year, which is good growth. I wish we could do 8.2%. You'd see the market up at 10,000 S&P, but it wasn't bad. I mean, we had a good week, and I think it'll continue. So that's something I think is going to be very good. India market's worth watching. We didn't buy the index fund for it because of the tariff and the buying of the Russian gas. You know, when the president wants to make the deal and he thinks India is screwing around, I don't want to buy that country. You know, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of respect for India for some reason, and again, kind of goes back to probably Apple building in India instead of the United States. You know, maybe not. Indicators: 3-year 3.4, 10 years like 4.02. You know, 4.5 for the 30-year. I mean, not bad numbers. Crude oil still hovering at 60. It's lowest it's been in a while in my town at $2.99 a gallon. Natural gas, I think we're going to get up above 5. You know, they're using it for the data centers. They're using it for heat. If it's got a cold spell this week, I wouldn't be surprised to be up over 5 next week.
This is a reminder. Will the S and P get? This is a reminder. Will the S and P get?
Will it get to 7,000? Yes, I think it will. I think we're set up for a strong December pending the rate cut. We don't get the rate cut, not going to be a fun December. So let's say yes. Gold up there, but look at the silver chart. Holy smokes. Boom, boom, boom. We're at 57. We're in uncharted silver territory. Remember, we have a lot of people buying silver. And, remember, silver is a lot cheaper than gold, obviously, per ounce, but there's a lot of buying in the silver market, gold market. Russians are buying gold like it's in there because they think the ruble's going to collapse. And my Russian friends are telling me, like, hey, we can't trust the ruble. We don't know what's going to happen. We all remember the collapse in the 90s where the ruble just became worthless. So they don't want to be repeating that. Gold, not going to become worthless. Copper, look at this, over 5. Wow. That means the economy is starting to really rumble, and copper is going to be everywhere. So it's not a bad thing. Fluence missed by 0.06. The revenue growth slow, but what everybody liked was the backlog. Backlog, from 4.5 billion to 5.3. So that's why we got a bigger jump in Fluence in the market. Can it break the top? Right here. This has been a double top. I don't know. It's going to be in there. So it's a stock we had. We've done real well on it, and we'll keep it. We'll just see. I think data centers and as more contracts come in, and generation and power storage is there, Fluence will do well. Google hit the $4 trillion market cap, and they've added $2 trillion since April alone. The Gemini 3 Pro is wonderful. For something that, you know, you pay $20 a month, you get Nano Banana, that's what it's called, gets all these 8-second movies, and you know, there are people who are making a series of movies by stringing these 8-second things and making an actual story and editing it. There it is. Eventually you'll get the 30-second version, and next thing you know, all I need is 22 minutes and I've got a typical half-hour TV show, and it's going to be state-of-the-art, nice AI.
This is a reminder. What will the S&P 500 get to 7,000?
Well, December it'll get to 7,000.
This is a reminder. What will the S&P 500 get to 7,000? You
know, since this week's I call the Amateur Week, a lot of people who normally don't trade stocks trade a lot this week. So I have a feeling it goes down next week, and then it kind of lull down until the Fed announcement, and once we get the cut, it'll run. You know, so 80% of the fund managers are not beating the S&P 500 of 15%. That means they have to chase it. Otherwise, people say, why did I pay you any kind of fees when you can't even beat the average? I could have just bought an index fund. This is the pressure they're feeling. There are going to be a lot of withdrawals coming around December if they don't think they're going to beat it. So a lot of managers are trying to beat this index. That means chasing hot stocks like Google and everything else, which means typically in January this is going to be a lowdown. One of the things is, like I said, we'll talk more about the divergence of NVIDIA and Google and TPUs and GPUs and CPUs and la. But remember, a win for one of these companies is not a loss for another, like NVIDIA. People are just fascinating to say this is the winner. You know, and if you were down over here in April, it was not a winner. It was a dog. And, you know, you've doubled your money in Google like we have doubled our money. That's good. You know, Google is up, I think, 62% this year. That's smoking hot. NVIDIA, Michael Burry, famous of The Big Short, you know, played by Christian Bale, Scion Fund, you know, up 400% buying the bond short. He's against the short position. It was disclosed in his thing. He's taken a short on NVIDIA. He's saying they're using long depreciation schedules of 5 to 6 years, where he believes the useful life of like a Grace Hopper, Blackwell will only be 2 to 3 years due to rapid technological obsolescence. All right. One thing nice, when you know a stock and you know the sector, you can slowly pick it apart. Of course, NVIDIA came out with a rebuttal. You know, the revenue's real. They're not using financial checks. They're not doing circular financing. They got $610 billion in financing. So companies buy the NVIDIA products, and it's sold out for the Blackwell in 2026. And again, the small amount they invest in other companies, 3.7, very small compared to the run rate of what they've got for the revenue. But this is the chart that's fascinating a lot of people. Because the Google TPUs, task processing units, are cheaper, more energy efficient versus the GPUs, which do everything, than NVIDIA. They're thinking you can build a lot cheaper. And of course, Meta going to 2027 with the NVIDIA, going away from the NVIDIA to Google processing, means a lot of people are thinking Google's won. And this is showed. If you take Google, Broadcom, and Celestia, and then you chart NVIDIA and AMD and Microsoft, you can see the divergence in stock prices. Slowly up, but the Google side is up a lot. They all can win. They all can win. Remember, we're sold out in NVIDIA chips for next year. It's going to be good. These things are going to be monstrous. And again, company in NVIDIA said, we don't have hidden vehicles. We're not relying on vendor financing. That means we're lending somebody to build a data center, buying our chips with money. And then, of course, the days outstanding is 53 days. I wish I had that, because some days I don't have any revenue coming in with some of these people paying late. And, you got to remind them, like small business, you got to pay because that's what they live on, Customers paid on chip standard line. They're not given an extended leeway. They're not doing boosting. But the NVIDIA chart is obviously shrunk compared to the Google chart. Google up, NVIDIA slowly down. And it's just this perception. People are fascinated with picking a winner in AI, not realizing there's going to be a couple of different winners. You got to remember, when there's a shortage of chips, you're taking what you can, and Google processing is good. I'm not going to say what they were starting to think is, wow, how good is AMD? You know, we'll see. Circle. Again, we added more to the position earlier because of the, you know, it was in the 10% we had, and we got it up to about 20%. So we're still low on it, but today, Tether, S&P Global downgraded Tether to weak, which is, instead of AAA and everything, weak is bad.
This is a reminder. I see you got Prime.
Oh, I did get Prime, yes. Yes.
This is a reminder. I see you got Prime.
Slowly upgrading the computer system, and Prime is doing these weird deals where if you're in Prime, you can get like a third off, 50% off versus 10% off on Black Friday today. So I joined. Back into the group, and I actually got to watch the Bears on Amazon TV beat the Eagles as I predicted. And it was a good day. And you know, people are like, well, why would you bet against the Eagles? I says, well, because the Cowboys beat the Eagles and the Bears beat the Cowboys. So using NFL math, I think the Bears are pretty good. They're running a streak. They're not choking in the fourth quarter. And guess what? You know, the Eagles aren't bad. I just think what's happening right now is they're just slow. They're just a slower team, and I don't know what it is, you know. So let's go back. According to S&P, 24% of Tether's holdings. That means a small percentage, but a significant one. Corporate bonds, precious metal, Bitcoin, secured loans, other riskier assets, i.e. Bitcoin, and up from 17%. And they're concerned if they have to sell and people are cashing out the Tether, can they come up with the money as fast? Especially when people who lost a fortune in Bitcoin, Ethereum, need real money, they're going to cash in their stable coin called Tether. So that's why they call it weak. Circle, of course, you know, has been on a long downtrend. We like it because it's from the Swiss, more stable, more oversight, and I really think it's the stable coin of the future. It's used the most in the world after Tether. So we've seen an increase. This week's been an upward increase. Has it broken through the mine? No, not even close. So, you know, fairly new. Again, you know, you think about, well, 78, it was up at 260. Give it time. It's generating a lot of money. And I'm a fan of Circle, and I think it's going to be the future. So, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I've been there many times. I worked right by it. Going to migrate everything to the Google Cloud by 2029. And, of course, the CME, I was a fan of these exchanges, and you know, Chicago Board of Trade, Chicago Mercantile Trade, but you know, it's not a growing. You know, they increase trades every year. It just stock doesn't have a lot of momentum. It just tends to go sideways, and you know, that's not what I want to see. Revenue growth is under 10%. Yawn, yawn, yawn. I'm so bored with the CME. All right, CYRUS, big news today. They're the data center for the CME, and they had an outage on Thursday at 9:45 on Thanksgiving, which means people couldn't trade the futures such as S&P 500, Nasdaq, Dow Jones, gold, everything else. And this is a place in Aurora, which I've actually been at. I was there when it was being built, and it has underground cooling. And obviously a failure in the chiller unit affected multiple cooling units, which means the NVIDIA chips are going to get super hot. And that's not good for anybody. You know, COB owned the Mercantile Exchange owned this, sold it to CYRUS, and then leases the information. So now it's going to go to the Google Cloud, which means who's going to lose? Probably CYRUS, right? Because if your stuff is on the cloud. This is not good when you're trying to go, and this is what I see. All these data centers are going to be built. Who's going to take it? You know, there'll be somebody using the data, using the chips. You know, but I don't know. But that's, you know, if you were investing in Cyrus One, I would not be in it because they're going to go to Google Cloud, which means Cyrus One is going to have less work. You're not going to have the cloud and Cyrus both. So, like I said, they're coolings from underneath, and if it isn't there, the chips get hot. You know, OpenAI, monthly users. We're waiting for the official numbers, which come out because it's not a publicly traded stock like it is. HSBC, OpenAI needs to raise $207 billion so that they can continue to lose money. I don't know why I thought that was funny. I'm sure Sam Altman doesn't think this is funny of OpenAI. But the spending versus the revenue is just the monster debt. If this was a public company, the parabolic is starting to flat out. It's no more parabolic. This is up here, going up here. The slope is stopped. Slope is not up here. Slope is flattening out. So will it cap around about 1 million users?
This is a reminder.
No.
How come you have not made me active in agent?
Oh, agentic.
This is a reminder. How come you have not made me active in agent?
Well, I don't want to beat up Amazon, but it doesn't give you any instructions. They gave me a complimentary making Alexa like my Gemini and my ChatGPT, which are interactive, and even Meta. But I just figured, well, you know, I don't need a fourth one. And so because I don't know how to do it, I tried looking up. You know, again, this is the whole problem. There's a lot of problems in Amazon they need to fix, and this is like one of them. Make it easy. Go up there. How do I make it? And you go point, click, 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 and do that. You know, I want to say when I go to Google, whether it be the Pixel phone or Gemini or Google Cloud, very clear instructions that actually work. I got everything with the Google Home. Hey Google, what's the temperature right now?
It's -5 degrees Celsius and snowing right now.
-5 degrees Celsius, you know, because I have to know what it is in Europe and other countries. So they use Celsius. And it's snowing, which I did not know. I have my home heat devices on it. You know, the bedroom heater, the bathroom heater, the lights here. Hey, Google, shut off the office lights. There's a little lag in it. There we are. Hey, Google, turn on the office lights. And there we are. This is really nice. I mean, you think about, you forgot the heater's on, you left, you can shut it off via your phone. I mean, what a great thing. I don't need to be near it. I have my phone. And this saves money. A lot of money. Because, you know, if you run the heater all the time, you're heating a room that nobody's in. You know, I can just turn it on like an hour beforehand. People say, why would you put a heater in the bathroom? Because it's cold in the bathroom. You know, my house is insulated not too well in the bathroom, right next to the exterior wall. So I know when I'm going to go in there, I can just have it up there, heat it up for an hour, and it'll be warm. You know. All right, John Deere. You know, people, they didn't like this. I mean, this earning came out, and they just tanked this stock. I thought, man, revenue went up 14%. The CEO says this is 2026 will be the bottom of the long-term agricultural cycle. Earnings are good. They beat on revenue, beat on earnings. I'm watching this. This stock I think is pretty good because if anybody's going to make it easier to pick crops, it's going to be John Deere. They already got the autonomous tractors and stuff running around, and it's going to be better. And Google's got another notification. Loves telling me about the winter snowstorm. SanDisk, one of the hottest stocks. You know, if you would have come back into the April, way back here, it was running under 50. Now it's at 223. Here's what my builders are telling me. People who build computers, state-of-the-art computers, RAM price doubled this month. So when you wanted high memory chip, which I got, which I haven't started, my new computer's sitting in the desk because I want to have the desk built, and I'm, you know, it's like, why don't you just take, no, because I want to start and move to a new place, new spot, get everything set up with the new stuff, and then this part will be taken apart. But I want to have that separate. Don't ask me why. I mean, because I just don't want to move everything en masse and like be out. I just want to be able to plug in, get that working, then slowly take this apart. But it joins the S&P 500 today. This is a commodity. This Micron, SanDisk, you know, Western Digital. It's not proprietary. There's plenty of it. It's just a matter of getting more orders done. And I don't see this as a reason that you come in at this level. I mean, you know, yeah, you were over here, you owned it, take your profits. I mean, this thing got up to 275 and then it dropped to almost, what, 20%, you know? So this is like a meme stock, you know, and I just don't think it's something I'd want to get into. Yeah, the revenues are going to, if they double and they can hold it. But remember, Samsung makes chips and everybody else. It's not like SanDisk got the priority on RAM prices and stuff. But what it's telling me, the upgrade cycle for the PC is starting. You know, we talk about the phone and everything, but the upgrade cycle for PC, people are going to start upgrading their laptops, their PCs, and that needs RAM. And guess who's going to charge a lot more for the RAM? SanDisk, Micro, Samsung.
This is a reminder. Will Bitcoin get 100,000 this year?
Oh, we'll get into it.
Will Bitcoin get 100,000 this year?
You asked me last week, I'd have said no. This week, I think maybe. You know, it's settling down. It's settling down. In fact, I think I charted Bitcoin. We'll take a look. Avocado, or Broadcom. Google Gemini 3 updates. People love the Gemini 3. They think it's better than OpenAI, which I'm sure Sam's having a hard time believing it. I'll tell you what I like about it. It's much faster than OpenAI. I ask for an image, it's faster. I ask for data analysis, it's faster by twice, 3 times OpenAI. You know, it's like OpenAI, you just ask the request, come back 10 minutes, it might be done. Google AI, it's done in a minute. It's a night and day difference. It's much superior than OpenAI right now. And Sam's like, I need another $10 billion. We got to get the thing upgraded. We're getting kicked right now by Google, and we got to do it. Remember, one win for another doesn't mean the other ones are bad. And, you know, the TPU, tensor processing units, and the task-specific units, whatever you want to call them, big surge. Look at this thing. This thing is on fire right now. I mean, we had it. You know, when it collapsed, we had to cut our tech, and of course we keep, you know, our kings, NVIDIA, not SanDisk, NVIDIA, ARM, and Taiwan Semiconductor. Those are our 3 kings in tech. You can have more tech, but that's a lot of risk. You add more risk as you add more tech if there's a problem. You know, I mean, Broadcom's very good. The manager's really good. I mean, if I had a 4th one, I would have had it. But I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get a balanced portfolio because the goal is to beat the S&P 500, not the Nasdaq. Japan, after all the collapse of crypto, using some laws to start making crypto exchanges there, holds some kind of reserves to deal with the rising hacks and the errors that we talked about in our special one. So Bitcoin was $90,000. Alexa, what's the price of Bitcoin?
1 Bitcoin is worth 90,940 US.
So it's a little up higher than I did it this morning. But look at it, slope down. Remember, I don't believe you can chart Bitcoin. And can you get back up here? Sure. I mean, we can go from 125 to 80,000 almost. I'm sure you can get a bounce back of at least 1/3 of this difference. So, you know, if you think about this as like 45,000, 1/3 of it is 15,000 from get to 95 easily. And then that extra 5 is going to be tough. But like I said, a lot of people who are wiped out doing hedging and leveraging, good riddance, you know. I mean, that's what you get when you want to play with the fire and bet everything and plunge into the market like, you know, a madman going in there trying to kill on these rises. You know, over here, this is your time to really have made money, you know, when you rode this one up. But this, you know, if you go from here to here, a lot of sideways movement, you know. All right, let's talk about 2 of the stocks we own. One of them has been around forever for us. I mean, a long time we've been in Chainlink. The dominant 78% of the market with connecting blockchain to real-world data. You know, a lot of data processing, 12 million pieces of data processed through Chainlink. All the major banks, Swift and DeFi like Aves use it. Proven track record, not breaking, not crackable. It's hard to get the users out of there, you know, who uses it and stuff. But slow and steady, you know, and I always look at is who's nipping on their heels. PYTH, you know, and 23 trillion in trading volume, that's huge. High frequency traders. The big one is the Chicago Options Exchange. They're using PYTH. Again, milliseconds updating the data and stuff. Of course, when you look at this chart, this is like horrible. This is a horrible chart. What, you know, when you look at Bitcoins, it's like the number 105 in the, you know, the most market value and stuff. But you know what? It is paired on the Solana platform. Its speed is huge. And again, when you have to transfer data, whether it be information or currency and stuff, speed is the winner. And PYTH is, you know, the data where you're going to go through it. You know, whether this be weather or this could be stocks or everything else. And like I said, we're just easing into it. We jumped in with probably 0.5% of our crypto, so we're back up to about 2.5% on our crypto. So it jumped up. I mean, we got a pretty good size position in PYTH. Because I think it's cheap. I mean, I think it's cheap. You can see when we were up like way over here, this is like a night and day difference. I mean, so I think as people start to realize and start to get past these novelty tokens, you know, i.e. Dogecoin and Shiba Inu and all these other ones, and they still, the ones that will last and ones will be are the ones that are used, you know, where they're using it for data. Got real companies using that data. And, you know, where money is changing hands. And this is what they want to be able to do. Again, you know, not a problem until something goes wrong, which nothing has gone wrong. But, you know, that's what they said about chillers. You know, hasn't had an outage in the CME since 2019 until today, or this week. So let's go in our foreign exchanges and US ETFs. We'll start out with, I call it Razor, but it's the small cap fund. Again, you know, we've been in a while, you know, for a long time, because small caps benefit from lower interest rates. And, you know, okay, at 42, it's up, what, 20, 30%? You know, but I think it's going to keep on growing. You know, it's a nice channel upward. And as interest rates go down, small caps who have loans, non-profitable biotechs, will get that benefit of lower fees. FLCH, our China fund, 990 stocks in this thing. But that doesn't matter. It pays a dividend of 1.5%, solid uptrend. Look at this 200-day moving average. That's what you love. You know, solid. Go. All this general gyration doesn't matter as long as the overtrend goes up there. What do they have? 10%? Alibaba. That's like, you know, 26% of it. China Bank, Xiaomi. I'm telling you, if I'm overseas, I'm going to buy that phone. It is better than the Apple phone, and at a third of the price. I mean, it's, you know, I tell people like, oh, it's made in China. Forget it. It's good phone. It works. People aren't buying millions of these because it's a dog. It's really good. And are they siphoning your data? Who knows? You know. But the average person, they don't care about. You know. And other ones, of course, you know, BYD. Beyond Your Dreams, the best electrical car company in the world. A small percentage on it, but you know, overall pretty good. I mean, I like this diversified between banks, industrials, tech, and insurance. So I mean, I think this is a good stock. I just can't believe we got 990 companies. Like, wow, I can't even name 990 stocks. You know, I could probably get to 400. You know, you ask me what it is, I could tell you what it does, but 1,000? I've been doing a long time, but I stick to like 200. You know, if you go back, whatever, you know, same, you know, I go in there, but some of these other ones like the REITs, I don't know them all, or some of these other areas like utilities. I know a lot of the big ones. Folgers or the German fund, 69 stocks, pays a smaller dividend. Again, a nice solid earnings. Dipped below the 200-day moving average, which is never good. But who they got? SAP, SAP, and Siemens, and then Deutsche Telekom, Siemens again, and Deutsche Bank, and Infineon, and Mercedes-Benz. Solid companies. Good basket to own. So we're in that, and we'll be in it for a while. FLMX, or the Mexican fund, again, another solid, slow rising up. This is sticking in a channel. The president learns not to. The president of Mexico has got great negotiation skills. Learns not to tick off the boss, as I call it. So that's unlike the Canada guy. Sometimes always something. What do they have? Well, they got the banks, and Walmart to Mexico. Like, oh, well, that's going to do well, right? Cemex, the big cement company, and then a couple other industry companies, aerospace, and pretty good solid companies. And again, you go look at them. These are companies that I think are solid, and we're going to do well with them. Okay, the only thing we bought was PYTH, and we got all our stocks here. I'm going to move myself out of the way here. Home Depot, who we bought last week, up 7% this week. Walmart. Why? Because it was so cheap. Why wouldn't you buy it? And lower interest rates, people are going to fix things. If it's high interest rates, they just try to save money. Of course, we're in the black is NVDI. Of course, Oracle, all that debt. People just don't want to touch it. See, this is now this AI winners and losers, and that's nonsense. We're all going to win with these companies. It's just that for right now, Oracle's in the doghouse, and NVIDIA is kind of with it because of, even though everything on the earnings was great, but people get lost in the hype.
This is a reminder. Why did you get Prime?
Well,
This
when
is
they
a
offer me
reminder.
great deals in
Why
shipping,
did you get Prime?
and $14.99, I think I saved in shipping the deals, with $30 here, $50 here, pretty soon you could buy a year's worth of Prime. I was interested, when I quit, what was it, summer, I only spent $16 on Amazon shipping. So, this lie of Prime's going to save you all that money, not a big deal. If I want to go watch a game on Amazon on Thursday, I go watch it at the sports bar. It doesn't cost me anything other than food and a drink. So I looked at it. One of the things Prime did that it doesn't advertise, when you're going to buy $50 worth of product, they give you free shipping. It'd just be like 4 days to get it instead of like next day, which is fine. Most of the stuff is just stuff I use in the house, and it doesn't matter if it gets here because I have backups, and I'm just adding to the backups. Like, I need garbage bags, so I'll put it on the thing. When it gets here, it gets here. It doesn't have to go in there. If I want it fast, Walmart Plus, that's going to be right there that day, and gives me a time window. Right now the deals made it worthwhile, and how long will it last? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to have. Walmart is cheap, and Prime right now, we're looking at it. We might get rid of it by February, but you never know. You could, they've got to do something. Again, Amazon, it's a good week. We haven't bought the stock. Google, best week. Meta, good week. Tesla, even up. Broadcom, the best. So what are other ones? AVGO, we don't have it. All the energy stocks. Of course, our Exxon took a little hit, like 0.9%. Lockheed, Deere, and then we got Walmart did real well. So a lot of stuff we had, all green, JP Morgan, the banks, a lot of sectors. It was a good week for everybody. Next week, not going to be that way. If it's typically a good during the amateur week, not going to be good when the real traders come back. So a lot of people will take some money, figure we'll hope for one more little dip before the Santa Claus rally, which should happen. But otherwise, we'll see you next week. Have a good week. Stay warm. It's cold here, -6 degrees. Or no, 26 degrees, not -6. All right, adios.